So it has been a while since I have filmed. There have been a couple of reasons for that. Number one, I just got lazy. My last video was at 24 weeks of pregnancy, and if you know me, you know that our youngest son is now 2 months old. So I haven't posted anything from the last 16 weeks of pregnancy plus the first 2 months. So I'm trying to play catch up and at least get a few videos posted to recap what end of pregnancy was like, what his birth story was, and kind of where we are now at 2 months. And then the second reason is my YouTube got hacked, and I cannot get back into it. I have tried to reset, it won't let me reset. I have done emails and tried to use Google support, and I just cannot get back into my YouTube. So the videos I have posted on there, I'm going to re-upload to this new channel, and I made my password stronger and enabled some more safety stuff, so hopefully that will keep this page secure, because I really am doing these videos so I can go back and watch the growth of our family. So that's our goal. But I am starting back up, even though I'm no longer pregnant. I do want to recap what the end of pregnancy was like, some of the things that went on, and then kind of lead up to his birth story, which I hope to do in a separate video. So my last video was around 24 weeks gestation. So that would have put us, I think, around the first part of November. And I did take belly photos up all the way throughout pregnancy. Shout out to my husband Brandon for taking all of those. He's become quite the little photographer for me. So I'm definitely blessed for him. He did all of my pregnancy photos with Lucas as well. So I have notes down here if you see me looking down. But 24 weeks is kind of where I stopped. That was like first part of November. We actually did Luke's birthday party around the first part of November. And I can't remember if that belly picture was in the last video. I'll have to go back and look. So one thing I am going to do after I talk, I want to go through and have belly pictures up until the day that we delivered, so I can go back and look on those. But after 24 weeks, after November, we obviously had Thanksgiving. I cooked a full Thanksgiving dinner for, we had about 16, 18 people come over for dinner. So I was on my feet all day cooking. Loved having everybody over, but by the time it was time to eat that evening, I literally sat on the couch and Brandon brought me everything because I was so miserable. I was just hurting and my feet were swollen. So I ate, and then when everyone left, I actually went and laid in the bathtub because that's kind of how I got my relief and the soreness worked out towards the end of pregnancy. Not a super hot bath, but a pretty warm bath, and that just kind of helped me relax and ease things. So I definitely did that on Thanksgiving night. But I was thankful to be healthy enough to be able to stand and to cook and to have all of our family over to enjoy that. A couple of weeks after Thanksgiving, I think it was the second weekend in December, we went away to Pigeon Forge in Gatlinburg for just a long weekend. We did a trolley ride of the lights in Gatlinburg to see the Christmas lights in Gatlinburg, and ate dinner. That was on Friday. And then on Saturday, we did the Polar Express. We went to the Polar Express down in Bryson City, North Carolina. So that was awesome. That was a really cool experience with Lucas. Then on that Sunday, we had breakfast, and we did a day at Dollywood before coming home. And we were really blessed because the weather was amazing. It was like 60s. We were in short sleeves most of the weekend. We did ride go-karts. I didn't, but everyone else rode go-karts at some point. So that was a really fun weekend away, and I will put some pictures of that trip on the next slide. we did maternity photos. Now, normally I would have waited until I was, like 34, 35 on up, so I had the bigger belly. But the reason we did them so soon, it was the first part of December, I think we did them, or maybe end of November, was around 28, 29 weeks. And ever since I found out I was pregnant and I calculated, when we were due, I had my heart set on maternity photos at the Christmas tree farm. That was just what I wanted. I wanted a long red maxi dress, and I wanted maternity photos at the Christmas tree farm. And that's exactly what we did. But I wanted to use those for our Christmas cards, so I didn't want to wait till right up at Christmas, which I would have only been like 32 weeks at the time. I wasn't a ton bigger, I don't think, at that point. So we did them I think it was late November, maybe early December, and I got those on our Christmas cards. And I will insert some of the photos from that here. But I also want to share a maternity photo story. Bless our photographer's heart. We've only worked with her one other time. She does amazing work, and I love her tree farm photography. We booked our photos we did them on a Sunday. I think we did them on a Sunday. So they were at Sunday at 4. And we went to church, we went and ate, we came home, we were getting ready. I run late to everything ever. So I knew I was probably going to be a little bit late. I was trying really hard not to be. But I came home. I had ordered the long red maxi from Amazon. I had tried it on, worked fine. I hadn't ironed it. So I thought I'm going to iron it really quick and then finish getting ready and it'll be good. When I went to sweep the iron over, I did not realize that it had Lucas had melted part of his toy to it, and it was like a black plastic thing on the iron, and I didn't notice it. And when I went to iron, this big black streak went all down the shoulder, so no hiding it for photos, and I was devastated. I had nothing else to wear. I had my heart set on that dress. I'm like, what am I going to do? So I thought, well, I'll spot clean it. So I went to spot clean it. A lot of it came out. Most of it came out. I would have worn it. So I spot cleaned it. I let it dry. And I thought, this is going to work. So I did my hair, did my makeup, went back and looked. And the entire shoulder was discolored from the spot treatment. And I thought, there's just no way unless the photographer went in and photoshopped every single photo, which is a ton of work. So I thought, what am I going to do? And I messaged the photographer. I was like, this has happened. Could I bump our session 30 minutes or so? And at the time it was getting dark really early. I knew we were going to be chasing sunlight and I could not be super late. She was like, yeah, that's great. She was wonderful to work with. So I thought, I'm going to throw it. My last chance is to throw it in the washer. So I throw it in the washer and do a full speed clean cycle. I get it out. It looked good. Everything looked the same color. And I thought, Lord, please let it dry. Okay. Threw it in the dryer and just wait on it to dry. And I keep checking it. And I really need to leave at this point. Well, we were not only doing maternity photos, but we were doing some family photos as well. We have 3 boys. And our oldest son and his girlfriend was coming with us because we wanted some photos of just them together, and then we wanted to include her in a family photo as well. So I said, you all go on. She can at least get the photos of you all, and then she can just do our maternity and our full family last. So they went on and were doing photos, and I just kept checking my dress, and it was just not, drying. And I was like, I'm just supposed to wear it. So my dress is half dry, and I throw it on, freezing, and it's freezing outside. It's December. It's freezing outside. Um, so that was that. I froze all the way to the tree farm. We lived 30 minutes away. We were super late. We were losing sunlight. But thankfully we got there and we had like 15, 20 minutes. We knew we had to go, 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 go. And thankfully our photographer was wonderful. She got all of the shots that we needed. We even got some really pretty shots with the sun setting behind the trees. And that was a blessing. But yes, so that was my maternity photo disaster. Lesson learned, I will not only lay clothes out the night before, they will be ironed and just ready to put on fashion from now on. Another fun thing that we did in this last 2 months of pregnancy, we had a 3D ultrasound done. We actually did it the weekend after Christmas. I think we were around 31, 32 weeks at that point. Us and our family went to a place about an hour and a half away, and they did tons of photos and video, and they really had to work with him because Tatum was always super stubborn on ultrasounds. They really had to work with him, but the tech was wonderful. She got us so many great photos and great footage. So we did that, and then we got a heartbeat bear, which I still haven't even picked up because I needed to go back in to have his heartbeat redone, but then they moved my C-section up and I couldn't get in there. I had to send her a recording of a heartbeat monitor from the hospital, and she converted that, but due to the coronavirus, she's closed, and I have not been able to go pick that up. So hopefully I can get that in the next couple of months. But yes, I would highly recommend them. They were great. They were reasonably priced, and that was an experience we really enjoyed together as a family. So another fun part of pregnancy is the baby shower. And I know a lot of people don't believe in baby showers for more than one child, especially if the child is the same gender. We are different. I believe every baby deserves a party, whether it be, a baby shower, a sprinkle, just a dinner to celebrate the baby. I'm just a big, firm believer in parties, and that's what we wanted to do. So I did a lot of the work on the baby shower. Brandon's mom purchased things, and I purchased a lot of things. And then our oldest son's girlfriend, she and her mom decorated, and my sister-in-law decorated, a lot of church ladies decorated. I helped decorate. The boys were there. Very blessed to have a lot of friends and a lot of family that were there and that helped me and did a ton for us. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been able to pull it off. But we did a big baby shower at the church. We did that in the middle of January. So we were kind of pushing it because we only had a few weeks left. But we didn't want to do it right in the middle of all of the holidays. So we did do a baby shower in the middle of January and partied and celebrated this little boy. Another thing that still needed done after Christmas was finishing the nursery. I'm actually sitting in his nursery filming now, but we had a lot of work to do. We still needed to finish painting, move the crib, put everything up. We did that December into January, and he was born in the middle of February, and it still was not done. It was usable, meaning the crib was up, but he did not have bedding on the crib, his full bedding set had not come yet. I had a rocker, I had his changing table, and I had a place to put his clothes and his diapers and wipes. So it was semi-functional, but I wasn't stressed about getting it 100% done because I knew he wasn't going to stay in here. It was more of a place for me to store things and keep things. So we are finished with the nursery now, except for I want to hang some pictures. I still have not printed and hung pictures. and he does not have an overhead light. He has a lamp that we use, but we are really not in here a whole lot. We use the nursery a ton when Lucas was a baby, but with Tatum, he's been a lot calmer baby, and we just really haven't used his nursery a ton yet. So medically, I did have a more difficult pregnancy this time. Tatum, he gave us a lot of scares. Um, if you watch previous videos, you will see I had bleeding at points in the pregnancy. Um, he had an abnormal NIPT testing, and we thought he may have Down syndrome at some point. I had to see high risk, had a high risk ultrasound, high risk anatomy scan. So we definitely had some scares this pregnancy, and he was just a lot harder on my body. He was a lot harder to carry. So we have 3 sons, but this is my second pregnancy, and he was just really hard on my body. I only gained 10 pounds total with him, so that was a blessing, especially because I'm a bigger girl. Definitely did not need to put on a ton of weight. So I gained 10 pounds with him, but by the end, I had so much pain. I mean, so much just pressure and back pain and uncomfortable. And you know, the last couple months of pregnancy, that's just the way it is. I was just thankful I was able to carry him and that he was healthy and that he was safe. But I did have a lot of pain, especially in the last couple of months, to the point I would even cry some days. I was just in so much pain. I did take hot baths or very warm baths to help alleviate that. But in the last month, I got to where I couldn't even take a bath. I could not lounge in the bathtub because he put so much pressure on me that I couldn't breathe. I was just in pain sitting in the bathtub. So I stopped baths probably around like 36 weeks, 35 weeks. And that's one of my favorite ways to just kind of chill and unwind. So that was really hard, not being able to get in a bath. And then after delivery, I had a C-section, so I couldn't get in a bath for 6 weeks. So it was like, I don't know, 11 or 12 weeks before I could sit down in a bathtub and soak. And it was so nice when I could. But he was definitely a lot harder of a pregnancy. It was a scarier pregnancy because of his abnormal NIPT testing, and I had blood pressure issues. I battled blood pressure issues all throughout pregnancy, as well as thyroid issues. So in December, I actually started seeing my doctor on a weekly basis in December, and I did NST testing every single visit until I delivered. So what NST is, it's a non-fetal stress test, I think is what it's called, and they put a monitor on your belly, and it looks like a contraction monitor, but it monitors his heart rate. And you have to just lay there for 20 minutes, and they are looking for his heart rate to stay steady and then rise, like with stress, and then fall, and then rise and fall, but not dip. They want to see it rising, but not dipping down. That can indicate problems. So my NSTs always look good. There was one appointment where I saw a different doctor than my normal doctor, and he was concerned by what he saw. He didn't feel like his heart rate rose enough and stayed steady enough before it came back down. So he wanted me to recheck with my doctor the next week and come in if there were any issues with movement or anything like that. But thankfully we were fine, and when we went back in, my doctor was not concerned. He looked good, and she wasn't really concerned about the weeks prior. She kind of looked at that test, and she wasn't super concerned about it. So that was a blessing. We also had a scare because when we went to our 3D ultrasound, obviously they don't tell you any medical issues. It's just a fun, family thing to do. But she asked if we had had any complications, and I told her that I have blood pressure issues. I have high blood pressure, and that's being monitored and everything. And she asked when my next appointment was, and it was a few days out, I believe. And she said, yes, I can definitely see signs of the high blood pressure on the placenta. And she said there's also a, let's see, it looks like your membrane has started to separate. And I was like, what? And she said, did that not show up on your last ultrasound? Because I'd had an ultrasound like a week before. And I was like, no. And she said, we may just want to mention it to your doctor. So I did the next appointment. She immediately took me for an ultrasound, and she said it was not a true separation. It was just kind of how it looked on the monitor or something. If it was a true separation, that would be an issue, because it's dangerous for the baby and for me if your membranes separate. But thankfully it was not an issue, but of course I was scared because of all the other issues that we had had. Another thing that we found out at our 3D ultrasound is he had flipped. He was a breech baby up until like 31 weeks, like sideways breech. And I mean, it was so painful, just the kicks and everything. And then when we went in for our 3D ultrasound, he was head down. So that was exciting to find out, and he stayed head down from that point on. So the day that I turned 9 months pregnant, I woke up that morning, I realized I hadn't felt the baby all night, which, I mean, that's uncommon, but I know they get lazy sometimes. So I got up, I took Lucas to school, I got back home, I, drank orange juice, I tried to lay down and do like all the tricks that would normally kind of wake him up and make him move, and nothing was happening. So I called my doctor's office, and they sent me straight to the ER. So I had to pick Lucas up from school, drop him off with a sitter, and then went straight to the emergency room, which I delivered at a hospital over an hour away. So by the time I got there, I still had not felt him, so I was really worried at that point. I have a heartbeat, like a fetal monitor, that you can hear the heartbeat in pregnancy, but I could never get it to detect. I don't know what I'm doing wrong, but I just cannot use those. I didn't even try it. But, so they immediately took me through triage and hooked me up, and as soon as they put the monitor on my belly, he started kicking. So, thank God he was okay. He was just having a lazy morning, but that was obviously a big scare. So, but that was the only time that I ever had any worries about his movement or things like that. So, the last few weeks of pregnancy, I was really feeling it, but I used that time to try to finalize things here. I did pack a hospital bag for Tatum, and I had some of my things together to pack, but I hadn't actually packed that bag. Well, our goal was, at the beginning of pregnancy, was to try for a VBAC, but I did have a C-section with Lucas, so I knew the chances were 50-50 at that point. And then with all of my blood pressure issues, we decided to schedule a C-section, but if during the last few weeks he dropped, if my doctor thought he was in a good position to try for a VBAC, we would try that. So they did schedule me for a C-section on Valentine's Day. Lucas was born on Halloween, so we thought it'd be cool to have two holiday babies. So we scheduled him for Valentine's Day at 7 a.m. My last prenatal appointment was on Monday, February 10th. I went into that appointment. I was on blood pressure medication, and I was checking it at home, and it had started to rise, but it wasn't like super dangerous or anything to go through the ER about. So we went in to the appointment. We did my NST. Everything looked good. But my blood pressure was terrible. It was like in the 150s over, 90s or something. I mean, not like horrific, but definitely not good, and definitely not good for being on blood pressure medication. So she said, we'll check it before you leave. So I laid through my NST. We had done pelvic checks, and he was not descending. Like, he was just not coming down. So we're like, okay, C-section definitely. And that was all planned out. But I had my week planned. I had my appointment on Monday. I had a hair appointment on Wednesday. I was going to finish packing air bags that week, get everything lined out. And so I was not really ready to go in and have a baby on Monday, even though I should have been, because I knew all of our issues. But when she took my blood pressure at the end of the appointment, it was like 165 over 95. She was like, oh, let me take it again. She took it again, and it was in the 170s, and she's like, no, I'm not taking it anymore. And the nurse and Dr. Blevins, they were kind of, I could tell they were thinking, like, what do we want to do? And then I had started throwing protein in my urine. So I was in early stages of preeclampsia at that point. She said, I want to send you to the hospital for serial blood pressure checks for the next 3 hours and see what you look like then. And I said, okay. And she knew that I really wanted to wait until Valentine's Day, and I know she was trying to get me there, but I said, you know, if you need to take him, because I want what's best for him. She said, go to the hospital. I'm calling. They'll know you're on the way. They'll set you up, and I'll come see you when I leave work. So I went over. They triaged me, set me up on the machine. I was still running 150, 160, and in the 90s. And I literally just laid in the bed, and the blood pressure monitor checked like every 10 or 15 minutes. And I was there for 2 or 3 hours of that. But at one point I had a resident come in, and he looked at the monitor, and I said, do you think that they're going to take the baby tonight? And he said, oh no, not with your blood pressure like that. It's not horrible. I was like, okay, that's good to know. My husband was working in the middle of nowhere at this point. He drives a truck and hauls equipment, and a lot of times he doesn't have cell phone service, so I had been able to call and say, hey, I'm having to go to the hospital, and I called our theater and said, hey, I'm going to the hospital, but Brandon didn't know whether to leave and come, or, you know, really leave him in a bind or what, so I said, let's just wait and see. So then I called, and I was like, I think they're going to try to wait, you know, just stay at work, it's fine. Well, then the resident started going through my medications, and I told him that I was on labetalol, and he was like, oh, you're on blood pressure medicine? And I said, yes. And I told him my dosages, and he said, oh, that blood pressure's really bad since you're on medication. I'm like, yeah, that's why they sent me here. So he said, I really don't know what she's going to want to do. We're just going to kind of watch you. Well, then I had another nurse come in, and she actually swapped arms on the blood pressure cuff and kind of like laid me a different way. And I started getting better readings, and she said it was something about like, I don't know, the way that I was laying and the blood flow and stuff, but it was down in like 135, 140, in like the high 80s, low 90s at that point. So I just laid there and waited. I was with my mother-in-law, who I call Mom, and so it was just me and her there, and we were just waiting to see. Well, Dr. Blevins came over, and she said, you're not in a super danger zone. I don't think we need to take him tonight. She said, you have two options. We can wait until Friday, but you will have to check on your blood pressure at home religiously and keep up with your medications and everything and come in immediately if something changes, or we can move your C-section to Wednesday, February 12th. And I was afraid that I would go home, things would get worse, or, you know, things would get worse and I wouldn't realize it and something would happen to him, and I would never forgive myself if something happened to him. So we moved our C-section to Wednesday. And, I mean, it was just crazy. You know, you're 2 days away. I had to call and cancel my hair appointment. I had to come home and finish packing bags and rearranging schedules because our families had taken off the weekend and different days to be there for us in the hospital. And it's just surreal to know you're going to have a baby in a couple of days. But we came home and got everything ready and packed up, and our C-section was scheduled for Wednesday, February 12th at noon. I had to be there at 10:30, and they said she usually runs a little late for morning surgery, so, you know, don't be in any huge rush. And at 10:30, you'll be fine. We got there at 10:30, and she was ready to go. And our family hadn't gotten there yet, which obviously they can't be in the OR anyway. They would just be waiting. But we were on the phone. Brandon was on the phone, like, they're taking her back, we're prepping, and everything. So I am going to do a vlog on his birth story, so I will have that to look back on. I don't have a ton of video from when he was born. We couldn't record in the OR, but I do have a lot of photos, and I would just kind of like to record his story. But that is how our last couple of months of pregnancy went, and I will go ahead and post my belly pictures from 24 weeks until 39 weeks on the day of delivery.